I am excited to share with you today the process that I use every time I start to build in Bubble. Now, when you see this process, don't be fooled by its simplicity. There's a lot of power and there's a lot of magic in taking the time to prep yourself and prime your brain for the work that you're about to do. So every time I start out working in Bubble, I ask myself, what is it I'm aiming to accomplish in this session of work? This video is going to do something a little bit meta. In this session of work, I am aiming to build a page that intakes this questionnaire. I don't know how to spell that word. And outputs a checklist of to-do items to complete during the Bubble session. Cool. So, questionnaire. Does anyone know the right answer to this question? There we are. Okay. Next, can I get specific about the answer to the first question? Okay, because this was really general, and I'm sure anyone that spent time working in Bubble, you know how much precision is required in order to get something working as it's intended to work. So let's get more specific. One thing I went out and did prior to this video is I looked and I found an interface for onboarding, because what this questionnaire reminds me a lot of like an onboarding type of interface. So what I'm going to do and why we break things down into 3 parts is that basically every time you're working in Bubble, you've got an interface, you've got some data, and you've got some workflows. So for this interface, if I were to build a left-hand nav, build the input screens, and build the outputted checklist, then this task would no longer require any more of my attention. I'd be like, woohoo, I did it, I'm done with this interface part. And when you're building things in Bubble, the great thing about software is you only have to build it once. And so next up, for the data, what do I think about when I see these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 questions? Well, if I were to create data to hold answers to the 5 questions and display them, and let's see, so that display one, yep, that's what I'm going to do with the data after I capture it. And then I'll have to do something. So see these blank things that I'm filling in, I'll have to leave enough when I build out a form like this for someone to go plus, 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 and you could add in as many things as are needed for what someone plans to do during this session of Bubble as they work through things. So for the data, I'll also need some kind of something to hold the 5 answers, something to well, I'll be working with the data to pass it to some groups so that it displays, and then I'll need a list of data to hold answers for UI, data, workflows, details, which is the part that I'm doing here right now. So now for workflows, if I were to save data to the database after input it, and if I were to, let's see, just change screens, and let's see, over on my interface, I'm also going to add conditionals for the navigation between to display an updated UI as the user navigates between questions on this left-hand side here. then this task would be done for the user interface, for the data, for workflows. If I were to save data, change screens via a state variable, and let's think about anything else that I might be doing for workflows as I build something. So we'll navigate through these things on the left. We'll be hitting a button to continue on our way through here. And then let's see, I'll need a workflow to, this display data is probably going to be about the same. I'm working with the data and I'm doing it in a workflow. So, and display data at the end, then this task would no longer require any more of my attentions. So, okay, so what pages am I being worked on? I happen to be only working on one page, but in your world, you might be heading into an afternoon session to work on all of your bubble tasks that you're doing for your app or a client's app. And so you'll want to note down all of the different pages that you'll be doing. And I would recommend even there's a layer that could be added. So you could add for each page user interface, data, and workflows, or you could just note in what you wrote down here which pages that those are on. In this case, they're all on the same page. So I'll just note only one main page for this work session. Okay, any special elements? Let's see. I'm creating a navigation menu. But the purpose of this question, perhaps in your world, is am I working with an API that I've never worked with before? And there's parts of it where you're going to be unsure. You're going to have to go and read some documentation. This is gold right here. If you prep your brain that you're going to be spending 20 minutes working through documentation, then it already jumps ahead and is going to look for, oh, well, what information do I need to get? And then you're working on, maybe you need it for 3 different pieces of data. And you're already deciding it. What this is doing is just kind of, greasing the wheels so that you get your brain turning and you can have a written summary that you can reference back to after you're done. And then obviously as you're going into it, you're all primed and ready to go. So, and this is meant to be a quick thing that's done in less than 10 minutes for sure. So final bonus, is there anything I'm uncertain about that I cannot answer in this moment? So let me think about that for mine. So I am a little bit uncertain about when I had these things with the 3 options here. So let's see, what do I call these? Fill in the blanks. Adding a So what I'm unsure about is that I imagine a workflow where there's a plus button, and every time I hit a plus button, it fills in the blank, or it fills in another. It gives me another field where someone could type in the additional details that they would be working on. For, let's say that they're working pretty heavy in the world of workflows, they're wiring up a lot of things in this session, then that could be, so it's a little bit fuzzy in my brain how that's going to work. So I'm probably going to need some kind of counter. So I'll just write that in, and as you can see, as I'm doing this live, I'm actually kind of figuring my way out and figuring my way through this. So perhaps a counter that starts at 3 can be subtracted from if all 3 are not used, and added to every time the plus button is clicked. Okay, so that tells me I've actually got another workflow. So I'm going to add this in here. And some more data. Answers to 5 questions, display them. A list of data to hold the answers for these, like these ones that I'm filling in here. And a state variable. Let's see, for the navigation, I missed that one before. and a state variable to count the number of fill in the blank boxes in the input form. If I do all of that, then this task would no longer require my attention. I'd be done. I could celebrate. Okay, cool. So that actually helped me clear, as you can see, I have a better idea of what I'm going to do now. And I call this one the dopamine giver, because if you go out and you do what you intended to do and you kind of close that loop of like, I started my time to work on this and then I crushed it, that's a great feeling. That's dopamine hitting you and giving you that little bit of celebration in the afternoon that you crushed it. So stay tuned. In the next video, I am going to actually build this into a UI, wired it all up, and at the end of it, if you would like to go and use this for your bubble working sessions to prime yourself prior to jumping in, then by all means. If you enjoyed this video, give it a like. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.